Thank you so much. Please sit down. Thank you. Let me begin by welcoming you to the city of Chicago, a city built, rebuilt by immigrants, time and time again. And let me say what a wonderful time to have NALEO here in Chicago. And to sit at a table with someone who has helped to mentor me in the Congress of the United States, and someone that we should all applaud loudly for as he led triumphantly that vote this week, the senator from the state of Illinois, Dick Durbin, who triumphantly got that bill passed on comprehensive immigration reform. Thank you, Senator Dick Durbin. We are halfway there. And let me tell you that we're going to finish the job in the House of Representatives. And what we must demand is something simple, that if there are 435 members, I know that there are a couple of hundred Democrats, and I know that there are dozens of Republicans who are dying to work in a bipartisan fashion, the example of which was set in the Senate, where Marco Rubio and McCain, together with Schumer and Senator Durbin, came together and left aside and set to one side their political differences and their partisan views in order to make sure that we could fashion an immigration bill that serves well our 21st century economy, but gives justice and fairness to 11 million undocumented workers who do so much of the hard work in this nation and deserve an opportunity to come out of the shadows. I want to say that, please, give a round of applause to the men and women who are serving the meal here today to us. And give one also to those who work in dirty, filthy, back-breaking work, treacherous work, in the fields across this nation that pick the food that we share at this luncheon today. I'm going to go back to Washington, D.C. I'm taking a flight today at 7:30 to go back and work. And on Monday, I'm going to be in Las Vegas. I'll be there with Senator Harry Reid. He's going to symbolically pass the baton on to the House of Representatives. It is quite a privilege and an honor to be here, to be there with him on Monday. And what a wonderful privilege it is to have you all here in my city of Chicago. I want to share something personal with you this afternoon. I know that you are NALEO, and I know that you are Mexican and Puerto Rican, you're Dominican, Colombian, Guatemalan, and Salvadorian, that you represent all of the countries of Latin America. And I want to say that many people always ask me, but Luis, you're Puerto Rican. Why do you have such a passion for immigration? And I'm going to tell you that I know what it's like to be a foreigner in my own land. I remember my mom and dad came here from Puerto Rico in 1952. Yeah, they came here with papers. They were citizens. But they came here as immigrants, simply with papers. And finally, they realized their dream in 1969, and they returned to Puerto Rico. And of course, they hauled me back with them. And we moved back to San Sebastián del Pepino, a little town in the mountains of Puerto Rico. San Sebastián del Pepino. And when I arrived there, they sent me off to school. They said, pues vete. Now, I lived in a bilingual household, right? I grew up. That means my parents only spoke Spanish and I only spoke English. Me decían Quiro. That was the name they gave. My father called me Quiro. Me decían, Quiro, vaya a la tienda a comprar leche. Y, can I have a Coke too? So there's always this negotiation bilingual in my house. So when I got to school, I went to my homeroom class. I was a sophomore in high school. And the teacher, I filled out the card, and the teacher said to me, tú, párate un momentito. You stand a moment. So I stood up, and he said, ¿Y cómo tú te llamas? And what's your name? And I said, I thought of which one of the different versions of Gutierrez I would tell them. Gutierrez, Gutierrez. Because every year, depending on what classroom I was in, my name seemed to have changed over the years. So I picked one. I said, Luis Gutierrez. Seemed appropriate enough. And he said, ¿Y tú no tienes madre? I didn't quite understand, but in the neighborhood, barrios of Chicago, you made fun of everything except one's mother. That was kind of a threshold you didn't pass. And I said, sí, tengo madre. ¿Y cómo se llama ella? And so, you know, in Puerto Rico, they have this thing. I think it's a very important one, that your complete name is your father's name and your mother's maiden name. But I didn't know my mother's maiden name. So he said to me, yo no sé cómo son las cosas en Estados Unidos. I don't know how things are back there in the United States. Pero aquí hay que saber tu nombre para matricularte en la escuela superior. But you have to know it, your name, in order to matriculate here in high school. So I went home. I'll tell you, I went home crying. Y le dije a mi mamá, mami, que dicen que si yo no tengo madre. Y ella me dijo, ay, hijo, yo entiendo. Mira, so I learned my name at the age of 16. I did, seriously. And I used that friendly vehicle to help me that adolescents love. What do adolescents love? They love a mirror. And I looked in front of the mirror and I repeated, Luis Vicente Gutierrez Olmedo. Luis Vicente Gutierrez Olmedo. And every time I said, caray, es un buen nombre. That's really a good name. Unfortunately, it took me all of these years to learn it. And after learning it, I went to school the next day, and I was so proud, right? I was in Puerto Rico in this strange place where people treated me strangely, but I thought now I knew my name, I knew a little more Spanish. And I walked up to a young classmate, y yo le dije, hola, mi nombre es Luis Vicente Gutierrez Olmedo. ¿Y cómo te llamas? And she raised her hand up. She said, Mister. And the teacher said, yes, what is it? El gringo me está molestando. Now, I want you to understand that I'm happy you're laughing, because I too laugh at that moment in my life. But I have to tell you something. There has never been a moment in my life that I felt so singularly excluded from everyone else, so small and humiliated, so hurt and set aside. But someone, when the laughter calmed down in the classroom, reached out to me y me dijo, las cosas van a estar mejor. Yo te quiero ayudar. Things will be better. I want to help you. And many times immigrants come to America and they find themselves just like I did. Misunderstood, not understanding the language, not understanding the idiosyncrasies and the mores, and laughed upon by others and ridiculed. And you know what? I said, when I grow up and I see somebody that looks strange, sounds different, and needs a helping hand, I'm always going to remember that moment that someone reached out to me and helped me be who I am today. So I want to say to all of you, thank you for the work that NALEO does. Lucille Robal Allard, thank you, congresista, por todo el trabajo que tú haces con nosotros en el Caucus Hispano. Thank you for all of the work and the leadership you have provided to us in the Hispanic Congressional Caucus. Thank you to all of my other caucus members, and thank you for coming to the city of Chicago. Los quiero mucho. Adelante. Este será el año de la victoria de los inmigrantes aquí en este país. Muchísimas gracias.